him introduce himself. But it's Ward, captain of sailing vessel Bella Dawn.
How you doing?
I am good. I'm inside today. It's only 17 degrees here in Michigan where I'm at, so we're looking at sailing on ice soon. Looks like you got better conditions down there where you're at.
Oh, I don't know. It's pretty bad here. It's like, I don't know, probably 80. You know,
Nice.
waiting for it to warm up.
Yeah,
Does
just mid-afternoon weather down there, right?
yeah, I might have to put a shirt on if it doesn't get warmer.
So most people today are joining us on everybody today joining us on the YouTube channel. We will put it on Facebook later. I do want to apologize about some technical glitches. I haven't ran the software since about a year now. So and unfortunately I didn't realize my subscription had lapsed. So we're on the trial until I get that all reset. So I can only broadcast in one place at the moment. And that's going to go to YouTube. So those of you that are on YouTube, there is a link there. If you follow the link, you'll be able to make comments, and we'll be able to see them. And if for some reason that's not working, that's all right. I got plenty of questions for them, and hopefully I'll cover everything that you guys want. It's a feature. I don't know if it's going to work in the temporary state of the software. So, but I kind of wanted to get into the one reason I invited Ward on today was to talk about, for those that don't know, he made a passage over from the U.S. over to the islands and was missing for several days. And we're all glad to see that he is safe and sound. But we wanted to go over that, and he was, I'm thankful that he was willing to come on and talk about his experience. We can talk about a little bit about what we saw on our side, what he was going through on his side, how he wound up, quote unquote, lost at sea, and really just lost to the people that were wondering where he was. But that could happen to any of us, especially the more that we talked about it. Him and I kind of offline realized that things were done and things were done correctly. Some things weren't done correctly. Some things were done the best that he could in the time, in the moment. And we wanted to go over those for things that could be changed in the future and things for us to watch out for that could what happened to Ward could very well happen to any one of us. At least that's my thought after speaking with them. So we're going to kind of go through that story. Let's start out with, tell us a little bit about your boat. What is Belladon?
Belladon is a 1978 Baba 30. It's a Robert Perry design built in Taiwan, the Taixing Boatyard.
So she's pretty stout, to say the least, if I know that those lines. For a 30-footer, which a lot of people think might be small for making the crossing, but...
Well, it's very similar to a Tayana 37, just a little one.
Okay. Yep. And Robert Perry, I think a few people may have heard of him as a designer, small guy from, but so how long have you had Belladon?
About 2 years. Yeah, about 2 years. My last boat was demasted by a drawbridge, and I was in the news for that too.
So if you ever invite me sailing, can I captain? Just kidding.
It was their fault.
They dropped the bridge on you, did they?
Yeah, I was motoring through and they closed the bridge on me.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, so I got a check and I bought this.
Okay. And when you say you bought this, what kind of condition was she in when you bought her?
She'd been on the hard for 2 or 3 years, and before that, they were in their late 80s, the previous owners, and not that means anything, but the boat was neglected. I thought I was going to have to put a new mast on it. It's got a wooden mast.
Okay.
I spent the first month that I owned it on the mast alone. I took it down, redid it, made it nice and shiny, and fixed a little bit of rot. There wasn't that much. It didn't look good, but turns out, it was okay. It's not really super straight, but it's a work in progress. There's a lot of, I'm working on it.
a lot of teak. I love the teak on my boat and a lot of old boats. They're a lot of work though to keep looking nice, especially for those of you saltwater sailors. And the freshwater, not quite as hard. But so for those that don't know, the boat's made over in. You said yours was made in one of the Taiwanese boatyards, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's common to have a wooden mast on those. They were very common during that time to come shipped with wooden masts. So.
Yeah.
So that's nothing new or different for that boat. That's what it would have come equipped with, so you say about 2 years ago. So have you been spending the last 2 years getting her ready for a crossing like this?
Yeah, mostly I've been, working on the boat. I hadn't spent a whole lot of time. As a matter of fact, coming over to the Bahamas was the first real big sail. I took it sailing with my cousin. We spent about 3 days. We took it up to up in the Panhandle, sailed it up there. But this was the big test right here. This was the
Nice.
big, and she did good.
So speaking of the big test, we're doing that. It wasn't meant to be the big test on the day you left, was it?
No, it wasn't. No, I was heading for Miami because I meant to leave 3 days sooner, but I couldn't, which is, mostly I had a truck I had to sell. I couldn't just leave it sitting in the parking lot. I was at Boot Key Harbor, by the way.
Okay.
That's where I left from. So I had that, and then I had a dinghy that I didn't want to bring with me that I had for sale. Both of those were for sale, and I finally sold them the night before I left, and I just took off first thing in the morning, 4 o'clock. I was in a hurry. I just wanted to get out of there. I'd been there through COVID, and so that was probably my first mistake, was that I should have waited for my next weather window, but I knew it was going to be at least a couple weeks, and but I was going to go up to Miami, and about halfway there, I got out in the Gulf Stream. I was going to use that to, slingshot. I was hoping to get a couple extra knots out of it. And I had the wind was pushing me, following seas. And it started picking up. And I was making decent time. And I was about halfway there, and I could see that there was a big storm over Miami. So the weather was coming a little sooner than I had hoped. And my boat's a little slower than I had hoped also. Not nearly as fast as my last boat. Was literally twice as fast as this. I had a Hunter, a much bigger boat, and it was a really fast boat. So and I knew this was a slow boat, but
not quite as slow as that, right?
I mean, it really has to be like 30 knots for it to do 5 knots.
Sure.
It needs a lot to push it. So
let's build a time frame here a little bit. So you left Boot Key. What date was that?
Oh geez, I can't recall anymore.
Okay. This was, if I remember right, this was mid-October, right?
Yeah, it was in October for sure.
All right. So to just kind of set some things, and this is how I understand it, we'll call it mid-October. We don't need exact date, right? You had spoke with family, spoke with some friends, let them know your plan was Boot Key to Miami for a new COVID test, right? Because we're in the middle of that, and you had to have a certain one by the time you got to, you had one, but you weren't sure if you were going to make it before it lapsed.
Tired. Yeah, I literally had 1 day left to get there. And yeah, when I saw the storm, I just went for it. I got a buddy's joining me.
Sure.
He's bringing me. I picked up a filthy smoking habit here.
Yeah, I know there's quite a lot of us that probably have that habit there, sailors. Not all of us, because we like clean air, but
yeah. Well, I'm a little nervous right now, so I was like,
Sure, it's only live. You know,
yeah.
as far as I can tell, we've got 100 viewers, but you know, nothing major.
Oh, now I'm really nervous.
So,
Well, I'm in over here. Yeah, well, you can climb up here if you want.
yeah, go ahead. Why don't you introduce him since he's coming up and.
All right. Introduce yourself.
How's it?
Well, there you go.
All right.
Haley
From Maui.
From Maui. All right. So you guys are enjoying the Keys, or sorry, not the Keys, down there enjoying the Bahamas. So all right. So we were looking at your original plan was going to Miami. There's storms overhead, over top of Miami, and so you decide you're already in the Gulf Stream. You think you can make it possibly, so you're making a run. You decide to skip Miami since it was stormy, and you were going to make a run over to the Bahamas.
Yeah. So the last person I talked to was Lance Fox. I believe you know Lance.
Yep.
Everybody knows Lance. He's the last person that I spoke to when I left Boot Key. I think I was 5 miles out, headed towards the Gulf Stream, and and I had talked to other people, but my plans had changed from day to day, because originally I was going to go, straight to Bimini, and here, and yeah,
the only papers they have there.
okay, and I, anyways, and that's what I was going to do. I was going to go to Miami, and then I saw the storm, and it was pretty ominous, and that's, I think, what happened is, everybody thought I got caught in that storm, but I ran from. Oh, geez, could you turn the radio off?
Yeah.
So you ran from it in a boat that you thought would be running a little faster, anyways.
Well, by then I figured out that, yeah, I thought I might make it to Bimini. Oh, I think, yeah.
And what kind of what were you averaging knot wise on your trip?
I wasn't doing that great. I had a lot of growth on the bottom, lots of barnacles in that. I had meant to dive on. Well, I kind of did like that one. It's a little button. I dove on it. I cleaned it okay, but I didn't get the bottom of it. I didn't get the bottom of the keel. The water's scary in there.
Sure.
And I don't know. I figure if you can't see through the water, that means there's monsters in the water. So
the reason I sail in the Great Lakes, there's nothing in there that can eat us.
Yeah. Yeah, there's sharks in the water, and I know they're not probably. I've never heard of a diver actually getting eaten by one, but I don't know. Anyways, I didn't do a great job, and I was probably doing somewhere around 4 knots once the wind really picked up.
Okay.
And yeah. Now
so 4 knots, and how many miles is it across to Bimini?
I believe it's like 90.
Okay.
Something like that.
So you got, no matter what, you've got a couple day crossing there, right?
Now it's longer than that. Because 90 from, 27 miles? No. From Miami?
From No Name. We were caught in the same storm. We both got lost in the same storm.
Oh.
Yours just happened to go to the news.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm never.
Right. Well, yeah, we're going to try to get to the point that we got to the news there. So you're making a crossing. How many days did it take you to cross?
It only took me 1 day to cross, but it took me 3 days to get up. I didn't end up, by then I hadn't made my window for the COVID test. So at that point, I decided I would just go right through the Bahamas and go to Luperon, because that's where I'm headed next.
Okay.
Even though I'm still here. Um, and I didn't make it to Bimini at all. And yeah, so 3 days. The wind clocked. I was going upwind. So I was just tacking back and forth until I got to the top of Andros, and then I went around and I was going to stop in Black Point, which is where I did in the Exumas, because I know Black Point. I've been there multiple times, and I figured I could go there and not get in trouble. I wasn't sure the logistics of not checking in, but I wanted to at least touch base with my sister and let people know what happened. But it was already too late. By then, it was day 7 by the time I finally got there, and they had already called the Coast Guard.
Okay, so somewhere in there, making the crossing, you didn't have communications, most likely. Did you have communications during the crossing? That's the first question. And by that, let's say cell phone, where you could actually get out and make a bounce a tower that you could talk to family.
Yeah. Oh, so the weather was bad, and there was no sun, and my boat's solar, so I don't have like a DC to DC inverter or anything. It's up on the ledge, up above the stove. Follow the ledge. There you go. And so I had to shut down pretty much all non-essential things so that I'd still have my Garmin. Apparently draws a little bit of power, because when I'm running it with the short days and no sun, it that and my refrigerator drains my battery.
So when you say your Garmin, is that just your chart plotter, or is it your?
Yeah, I wasn't using anything except for the chart plotter. I have a radar. I don't need it. So,
yeah, but do you have autopilot?
No, I don't have an autopilot. I haven't installed that yet.
Okay.
I was really, you know what, I figured out on this when I was making this crossing, this boat actually steers itself. All you got to do is trim the sails right, and it'll steer itself.
Yep.
I needed autopilot. The only time you really need it is downwind, and I can even trim the sails and get it to go downwind, sort of. But you got to stay at the helm. You can't walk away, because it'll just take off in one direction or the other randomly. So.
Yeah, I most boats I've sailed, if you get a balanced trim, she'll stay on course with just a little tension either on the wheel tensioner or the, if you're not at a wheel, just tying over tying over the rudder post.
Yeah, but, I tie it to one side or the other.
Yep.
And I don't always have a noose on it, but that's nice when you're on anchor, right?
Sure.
Yeah, lets people know don't board my boat.
Right. Know how to tie the knot to get rid of them. But all right, so we're making a crossing now. We're talking 3 days from the very beginning. Yeah, at this point, how much sleep were you getting?
I was sleeping with a kitchen timer. I set it for 15 minutes, take a look around, zonk out as quick as I can, pop back up like a gopher, back to at the timer again. And I did that for, I hove to twice that I can remember, but I sailed straight through. Okay. I never fired up the engine, never stopped, except for hoving to.
And I asked that question for a reason. I kind of let it. I mean, you and I talked about it a little bit offline, right? But when we're talking about decisions and who was talked to, whether you could get radio contact or whatever, you're on 3 days of 15-minute cat naps. Your decision making and remembering and everything starts to go a little downhill, right?
Yeah. Oh, it took me several days to get back to normal, I think, to catch in that, and then, yeah.
and for you, this is just a 3-day adventure, right? You had no idea what's going on shore at this point.
Well, it's supposed to be a day sail, you know.
Right, right.
So it turned into a week. Yeah.
Yeah, and after a week of no sleep, you forget, things that would make sense to us don't necessarily come to mind right away, right?
I never would have guessed that there would be people would be looking for me. Yeah.
Yeah, people across the world.
Sister would worry about me. She's number one, my sister. So that's the only person that I was worried about, and getting there.
Yep.
And I was also worried about getting in trouble with Bahamas. And by the way, they were very, very pleasant.
Good. Yeah, we're not going to advocate making the trip without getting tested, but
only because they heard about me in the news.
Right. Yeah, that probably helped a little bit. So, around this time, your sister's worried. I know Lance is worried. I'd reached out to him. That's actually how I got to know him, just so you know. It was kind of through your loss and his post. I've done some search and rescue work, so I kind of caught my interest, and I'm thinking, I'm looking at what things could have happened, and I'm like, I would have thought you made it to Bimini by now. So I'll be honest, I was in the camp of, something bad happened because we aren't even finding his boat, anywhere. So
yeah, well, and this boat already tried to sink on me twice, just in the ICW.
Yeah. So, I know Lance was worried. He had told me that your sister was worried. Obviously, I saw her post too. So all that's going on in the mainland. We're kind of all keeping an eye out for you, just so you know at that time, right? You're working on day 3 or 4 without any sleep. So you didn't get into any real trouble along the way other than taking longer than you expected, right?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, it was, the weather was bad, but it wasn't that bad.
Okay. You sail into where ultimately?
Into Black Point.
Black Point?
Kind of bad, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't horrible weather.
It wasn't going to sink your boat weather.
No. I was getting wet.
I'll be honest, like anything could have happened. This is one reason I do tell people to send it in, because, a very easy scenario looking at from my end, you went up when it was not that bad, made the mistake we all do, don't throw on a harness or something to make a quick adjustment that you had to run forward to, right? I mean, I'm not saying that you did that during this trip, but, that's a common thing that can happen, right?
Yeah.
Wave comes along, pitches Ward off the side, except we couldn't find your boat. That was another story, right? But, I mean, that type of thing can happen, so that's why we check in with people, right? That's why we have, itineraries.
Exactly. I made a mistake, for sure.
Yep. So you blew past your itinerary, you pull in, you started to tell me you came in close to dark, right? So kind of explain, what you did as you get in. You said you're thinking about whether or not you're going to be screwed because of your, COVID test, right? You're very low sleep. You finally see land after several days of sailing, or at least where you want to anchor. So pick it up kind of there.
To where I came into Black Point?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so first thing in the morning, One Love, it's a charter boat. The captain came over first thing in the morning, and he said, and I quote, if I remember correctly, "Oh my God, this is the Belladon. You're famous, man. Everybody thinks you're dead." And that's how I found out.
So at this point, you got a little bit of sleep, and you find out you're lost at sea and dead. What's the next thing you do?
Well, he has all kinds of cool toys on his boat, including internet. So first thing we did was call the Coast Guard, and they said, "Oh, that's great. Thank you very much.
Here's your bill." No, just kidding.
Yeah, but that was another thing too. I was like, well, this could be millions of dollars, and I won't do that in my whole life. So
right.
Maybe I could come back to the US. But they were, they were just happy I was alive.
Who does cover that?
As I think we all were, right? As I think we all were. So the Coast Guard probably got involved by your sister?
Yeah, my sister's the one that called, I believe.
Okay. But that's common. That's what she should do. That's, everything worked actually the way it should. And then, so you're able to get in touch with your sister? Is that who you called first?
Yeah, and then I talked to my sister. That was emotional.
Back from the dead, I can imagine. Yeah, she
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. So
I know once I found out, I made some, posts as well as everybody else did that, you'd been heard from and you're alive. And you know what? I know you're a little worried about coming on. I'm not going to tell everything that we talked about, right? But you were a little nervous when I first asked about doing this, right? Because one, we talked about, Coast Guard payment, right? We didn't know any of that then because we've been planning this for 2 months, right?
yeah,
You were a little nervous what people were going to think, right? That you made some, stupid mistakes. And I'll be honest, we brushed on some of it here, right? But they're, I think, pretty common mistakes and understandable ones. That's the reason I asked you to come on, right? I actually told you. First thing I said, that could have happened to me, right? Didn't I tell you that?
yeah. I could. Yep.
Yeah.
I could.
So the one thing you told me you wanted to do, I'll give you that chance right now. You wanted to say, you told me you wanted to thank you and an apology, right? So I'll go ahead and give you that time to do that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I apologize. I'm sorry for worrying everybody. I should have made contact sooner, and I probably could have done that in Andros. I could have went in there, but I was nervous that they would kick me out and make me go back to the U.S. And after COVID and 2 years in a boatyard working on this girl, I just didn't want to do that. I was like, I'll be okay if I just sail all the way, let people know, and I'll just keep going, and I won't make landfall, and I'll check into Luperon,
And like I said, we got that out of the way, and I personally said I didn't really think you owed an apology, but I don't, like I said, it's minor decision, things that just, it really came down to you weren't able to make contact with people, right? And that's the biggest thing, I would like to stress to people. You make one of these, you're planning, especially if you're solo sailing, I'm a solo sailor, those long trips can wear you down and you forget little things. So the biggest thing is make sure you make contact with people, right? And if, have a way, even if you're going to do a, in this case, if he could have got, shipped ashore to work, or if you carry a single sideband radio on board, right? Something that has a little bit longer range, you can always normally get somebody to make a phone call to tell a loved one you're okay, right? Or there's other things too. So keep that in mind. And one thing I would tell people, and I do it now myself in my own log. When I make a log, I also put a note in my log if I have to do something like, make sure I make contact by day 3, right? If by day 3 I haven't reached here, find way to make contact, because you don't always think about that with the lack of sleep, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think I was thinking clearly.
Right. As most people say, I kind of named it Sailing Vessel Bella Dawn Lost at Sea, and you weren't, right? You weren't. You were lost to, the people looking for you.
Yeah.
So you had a great, emotional, probably got yelled at a little bit by your sister, but then probably she wanted to hug you at the same time if she could have, right?
Yeah, she didn't yell at me. Nobody yelled at me. Everybody was happy that I was alive, and yeah, I wasn't actually lost. I knew where I was the whole time.
Okay. So I kind of want to cover basically how it got there, how it happened. Anything about the trip that you want to kind of talk about or get across?
I can't think of anything right offhand. I mean, I don't know, man. Leave on the first day of that weather window.
Sure.
Not
and that, well, I was gonna say not even about that, just about the trip itself. This was have you ever done the crossing before?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did it in my last boat. And then of course I went back to the U.S. too. But I did that exact one, same thing. in Artemis was my last boat.
Okay. But you spent 2 years getting ready for this trip, right?
Mhm.
Excited about it. Was it, all right, so let's go back. We kind of covered that. Tell us about Wade. Tell us about you. What's your, what about sailing, do you love? What are some of your goals to do in sailing? What was this trip about?
Well, I'm gonna go around the Caribbean if all goes well. I'm a tattoo artist from Colorado Springs, so I'm fairly new to sailing. I had the other boat 3 years,
Okay.
so I've got 5 years in. Before that, I'd never sailed, never been on a sailboat, and so, anyways, you're distracting me, sir. He's over here. He's over here making gestures.
So, all right. Next, can I tell you where are you at now, and what are your plans, kind of moving forward from where you're at?
Well, I got a bunch of friends coming, and they should be here in less than a month. So I'm waiting for them. One of my buddies is bringing me a part that I need. My transmission went out while I was here. It's just a rear seal, but good luck trying to find one of those in the Bahamas. But one of my buddies is bringing me one. So, and he's bringing the care package with him. Family. I got a cookie sheet coming. I think I got this, that, the other things that I didn't think of.
Yeah, I think there's always that on a trip. There's you think you have everything you need, and there's always something you find you're missing, right?
Yeah, and of course everything here is 2 to 3 times the price that it is in Florida. So.
That's kind of a question I always had too. I mean, I think of, when I dream of making this crossing, and I hope someday I get to, right? I've got unfortunately, I'm not independently wealthy, so I've got to put some more money aside before I can leave the Great Lakes with my 36-foot boat. I almost would dream that I could spend half my time crabbing and fishing and not spend a whole lot down there. Is that true?
You could, yeah, absolutely. You certainly could. There's plenty of lobster and conch. Plenty of fish if you're a good.
What do you think you spend roughly in a month in the islands?
I have a $500 budget. $500 a month. It's really hard to do that here, but it's if you stay out of the bars and the restaurants, you can do it, and you gotta.
That doesn't lie.
And so I cherry pick when I go to the market. I don't get the things. I don't just grab whatever I want. I have to look and see what's reasonable. Okay. So I've lost some weight, which is good. I'm all toned up now from sailing and not being able to afford carbs.
Well, what about potable water? Is that readily available at most?
It is. Yeah. You can get water for free in the Bahamas almost anywhere. If you want to, you can pay for it. They'd be happy to some places for it.
What about so when you're at an anchorage, and maybe I don't know, are you at an anchorage where you can see land at the moment?
Yeah, I sure can.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yep. So now we got kind of a view. So is that common for most anchorages? You're within an anchorage, or you can take the dinghy up to shore and be into town in how long?
Well, I usually get a ride. I just have a paddleboard right now.
Okay.
So some things I can't do, like, if it's choppy out, I can't really go get water. It gets a little sporty sometimes. So
sure. Yeah, an idea too. Where I anchor out at, I'm on Mackinac Island in the Great Lakes. it can get a little bit sporty there at times too. And I have a couple of friends that have, just a paddle board, and we do the same thing. I give them a ride to shore, or vice versa. If I need something, they'll bring it to me. Yeah, so I'm permanently moored. I don't use a dock. I don't, it's nice if I want visitors, I can go get them, bring them to the boat, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah. It's the cruisers here. Pretty much everybody is super friendly, so you make friends quick, and people are always going. So I could get on the radio or just call one of my friends and be like, hey, I need to go to the store, whatever.
So that was something else I wanted to talk about too. You probably know this being down there now. Probably maybe even known it going in. There's radio nets, right? There with the cruisers.
Yeah, I hosted the morning net last week.
So another thing, maybe to bring up, and this is just, I'm bringing this up, not talking down to you, right? I'm talking to you as an idea. You may not have been able to reach back to the U.S., but, you're gone 3 days. Maybe a radio net would have been a way to get information out that you're safe, right? Although you didn't know that you were missing, right? So.
Right. I didn't know about that until Black Point.
Yep.
I was, I had my radio off because there was really nobody talking on it. Nobody was out sailing. The weather wasn't nice. I was probably one of the first cruisers here because I started earlier than the cruising season. There was here, but my battery was almost dead the whole time, and I was just trying to keep it going. So
sure.
the one thing that I needed was my chart plotter. I needed to know where I was, and even my fridge. I would run it, a few hours a day, but I was fully stocked. I didn't want to lose all my meat and everything. So I'd run it for a little bit and then turn it off, keep it closed.
How many amp hours do you have on Belladon?
Pardon?
How many amp hours of storage do you have on Belladon?
I have 300 lithium.
Okay.
So pretty much a full 300. The equivalent of 600 in a lead acid.
Lead acid, yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and like I said, I just brought that up as I said, and when I do my charting notes, I put in, hey, if you haven't made this by daytime, right, make sure you make contact here. It was just an idea, something to remember in the future, right? Not necessarily directed towards you. I just was doing it as a general, that there are nets down there. There are some things that if you're thinking straight, and like I said, a lot of times you're not after 3 days of sleep, right? That's why I said, it's just something I was bringing up for in case, because like I said, I think any one of us could wind up in the same situation you were in. So.
Sure, yeah, it would, and if I would have known that I was missing, I could have got on the radio and called the Coast Guard, said it, but I didn't know, and like I said, trying to keep my head low and just get to
right
at that point.
If it wasn't COVID year, it'd be different too, right? Yeah, I know.
COVID, I think everybody's on edge with that still. It's the same here. You have to have your mask on anywhere you go inside. They got people coming from all over the world, and they don't want it. They don't want it to blow up here. So
sure.
So they're about it. You wash your hands. Pretty much every store here, that's the thing they do. Sanitize your hands, and you got to have a mask. Can't even get in the door.
Okay, good. Well, that's good to know for people going down. So you're looking at, if you're traveling that area, make sure you're stocked on masks. You're going to need them to go into stores. They wearing them on the streets down there too?
Some people do. Yeah,
okay.
Wear them all the time, especially older people and that. You'll see.
And I will tell people, especially if you work on sailboats, the N95 masks are going to be, better for you than the paper mask, just protection-wise. So a lot of us have those because we did, or at least I do. I buy older boats, fiberglass work, right? I've got them sitting around from fiberglass work. So I did have a question come across. It's when you saw how everyone was looking for you. Just a comment. When we saw everyone else was looking for you, so glad you're safe and happy to hear that. That was from a watcher named Deborah. So
Thank you, Deborah.
Like I said, you can't necessarily see them. Again, that was my fault with some of the software changes. I do fund this, and the sailing channel and these that I do and my Facebook channel. I'm not doing it for money. I do fund, the $300 for the software myself. Just because it's, I enjoy sailing. I like getting some information out there, and I'm sure I'm probably a boring host. So, but. Well, hey, we've been here about 40 minutes. I'm glad 40 minutes of time. I also know how data costs down there. So I'll give you like 10 minutes here or less, whatever you want, to kind of wrap up some thoughts, talk a little bit about, your upcoming plans. I know your YouTube channel is a little bit on hold. Same thing, technical difficulties. But we did talk that you've been keeping a journal the whole time. And it'll be fun to see that when it's up and ready.
Yeah. I'm hoping to put, I don't know, maybe a book together sometime. I've always wanted to write a book. We'll see.
So I did have somebody that said that they weren't here from the beginning. Kind of wanted to recap, and we'll do that here right before the end. Kind of a recap of everything for those that tuned in late. But I do want to let you know it is taped on my YouTube channel, and I will post it to Facebook after for those that are wondering. So you can watch it on my YouTube channel, which the link is there, or if you do a search for Naughty Dog Sailing, and that's my YouTube channel for those that aren't familiar. Do you have your own YouTube channel, Word?
No, not yet.
Okay, I was gonna say if you did, I'd happily provide the link for you over to your channel if you wanted it to. So, again, like I said, I don't do this for funding. I do it for fun and information. So, so kind of a recap. You were leaving originally from Boot Key to Miami, right?
Right.
Yeah, you hit the Gulf Stream to hopefully make up some time, but the boat was a little slower than you thought.
Yeah, and it was choppy.
Storm sitting over Miami.
Yeah. And a jibe would have been dangerous at that point.
Okay.
It picked up quite a bit. So, I was in a trough and I was in a groove and at that point when I saw, the storm, I was just as close to Bimini, but the wind clocked around and it was a long road. Yeah, it was a long road.
Yeah. So you'd made a decision to shoot for Bimini. Hopefully, you make it before your time expired on your COVID test. The wind didn't cooperate. You've got a rear seal that has been acting up on your transmission. So you were doing this all under sail. After several days of sailing, as we talked about, it's funny. You said you use a kitchen timer, right? You did that for your naps. 20 minutes, whatever, and then wake up. I learned that originally. I don't know if you ever heard of the Goujon brothers.
No.
Have you heard of what's the biggest? No, I just forgot the name of their company. Fiberglass. Like if you buy epoxy and fiberglass, it's their company.
West System.
West Systems. Yes, thank you. They started West Systems. They're right here in Bay City, Michigan, where I keep my boat. I sailed with them when I was young. When he raced, they built. They actually originally started with ice boats, and then got into multi-hulls. And that's when they started. That's how they made epoxy. They were doing cold mold multi-hulls. But one of the Goujon brothers had taught me racing the Port Huron to Mackinac, Chicago to Mackinac races. They did some single hand races too. That's what they do. Kitchen timer around their neck. Go to sleep with it. Turn it for 15 minutes or a half hour, and go to sleep. Wake up, look around, go back to sleep. Right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if he came up with that idea, but that's been around for a long time. I know, at least with the Goujon brothers. So, so that's what we were talking about. For those that want to recap, we had talked a little bit about how you're now looking at sleep deprivation, right? And some of your decision processing. You weren't thinking about whether you weren't lost in your mind. You didn't know, you were lost on shore, right? Until you pulled into harbor at night, if I remember right. When we talked earlier, you pulled in at night, dropped anchor, and got a knock on the boat in the morning, going,
Yeah.
"Holy shit, dude, you're missing, dead."
Yeah. That's when, all of a sudden, all these things are going through my head. Oh my God, I got to get a hold of my sister. I got to get a hold of the Coast Guard. Everybody thinks I'm dead. All, and I don't even know. I don't even know how to describe how that feels. Not good. Not good.
Oh, I can imagine. Knowing that you got people worried about you, not really even knowing how big on the internet you're being worried about, right?
About that.
And plus the worry of were you going to be able to get in where you needed to with COVID? You had to still figure that out. Not that you had COVID, but with your COVID test lapsing. You had to get a hold of family. You had to get a hold of Lance probably because he was one of the other people that you knew you were missing, right? So all that going through your head, and then of course same thing went through my head. Oh shit, what am I going to owe the Coast Guard, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but hey, I really appreciate you coming on. I don't want to use up all your data, and we wanted this to be pretty informal. That's what I said it would be. Hopefully, I kept it that way for you.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate you coming on and kind of just briefing over. Someday when we get a chance, we'll sit down and have a beer about it and discuss a little bit more. But I appreciate it, and like from my end, I wanted to do it because I think it could happen to anybody, right? It was a couple minor decision things that you just forgot about, right? And that caused the chain of reactions of people being worried. And like I said, in that scenario, I could see it happen to just about anybody. So,
well, hopefully my mistake, helps other people not make the same mistake. And one of the things, like, I didn't even know this was a thing, to be honest, but a float plan. I know you want to tell people where you're going, but it's a real thing. It's called a float plan, and you got to have a float plan. If you're making a passage, you got to let people know this is what I'm doing. And like I said, that kept changing from day to day what I was going to do. And on the last day, I decided, a couple people, including Lance, said, hey, go to Miami. There's going to be weather, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll go there. I'll get another COVID test and I'll wait for another. And that's actually been a problem for a lot of people, that COVID test. A lot of people, because you're sailing, if you're not in a power boat where you can get over here in an afternoon, it might take you forever to get here. You don't know what's going to happen when you get out there.
It's 72 hours.
So.
Yeah, no, definitely. You don't know what's going to happen when you're out there. And I do. I'm all for a float plan. I'm guilty. I don't file them that often either, right? I'm in the Great Lakes, so I'm generally, not far from a marina. 12 hours generally from a marina, anywhere on the lakes. But having that float plan and modifying it with somebody, if you modify it, right? So like I said, I think that does some things for you. It reminds you to check in if you've deviated from it when you're not thinking straight, right? Because like you said, 3 days of no sleep and you're not thinking straight, but you can go, oh, wait, I'm way outside my float plan. Somebody might be looking,
Right. Yep, absolutely.
Well, hey, I appreciate your time. We're bumping up on the hour now. I do appreciate you coming on for it. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Got a little bit of information out there. I got to be jealous of the sunshine and 80-degree weather you got. But any last things you want to mention or say, or anybody you want to shout out to or thank you to for during this whole process?
You know what? If you want to go sailing, go sailing. Don't try and make your boat perfect. It's never going to be perfect. Even if it's a brand new boat, it's not going to be perfect. Never ever. Just go. Well, make sure it'll float.
Right.
Yeah. Take care of the important things, the safety things. I have all, I have an AIS now. My sister and mom sent me a over with another friend of mine who came over here. He's a captain, and I met him and got the X Spot or Spot X, whichever X Spot X.
Okay.
So I can send texts from that, and
Nice.
and I can drop like a breadcrumb, let people know where I'm at, with my GPS coordinates.
Yep.
So, and also it works like a
It's the most underrated EPIRB there is.
yeah, it's like an EPIRB too. So
Yeah. So what's the name of it and what's the cost roughly? Do you know?
they're kind of expensive. I think they're about $300 or something like that.
$200 usually.
And then there's like a monthly service.
$3 a month. If you want to keep it up.
Yeah, $200 in a monthly service. That's a lesson learned, right? You wish you would have had it before you left, right? It's a good investment for those that don't have one. Definitely something to to think of to put on board in the essentials list. So
Yeah, it's a pretty handy device to have.
Yeah.
For sure. Relatively, I think Spot has been around for a while, but this one you can send and receive text too from a satellite.
For me, I did it a little bit different. I'm a computer geek guy. I've got a Raspberry Pi set up that will actually read my GPS coordinates, and I can send it radio-wise to satellite. Kind of even like it's in a fax mode. So if somebody's, you have to have somebody that's watching that site, but at least it's something that's there that I can upload it by. So.
And you can also use them as a GPS too. Like
I do. Yep.
A chart plot.
Mine's I've got a Garmin chart plotter too. I've got I do wreck hunting and scuba diving, so I've got a Garmin that's a side scan sonar and everything. But I also have a Raspberry Pi that's a chart plotter and runs my autopilot.
Nice.
So I've got a little motor driver and turns my autopilot. But maybe that's what I'll do. I'll build you one of those one day.
Yeah, I would know where to start.
Right. Yeah, I know you said that. But like I said, I'm a computer geek guy, so I like doing that. But yeah, well, hey, I do appreciate you coming on. It was great to do this chat. We'll get you. Why don't we get you back on before hurricane season again, and you can kind of recap some of your ventures down there. Do me a favor, if you make it into Abaco, I have an Abaco sailing dinghy that's hand built by Winter Malone. I hear his shop is still there, although he's passed away. So if you ever do make it into Abaco, give me some pictures of his shop, please.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm hoping to go the other way.
Okay.
For hurricane season, if I'm not in Luperon, I'm going to be pretty upset.
Okay. Yeah. Right. You want to be able to hide out, but. Well, again, Ward with Sailing Vessel Belladon, I do appreciate you coming on, and I'll have this on tape replay for people so they can watch it. And I apologize to everybody that did try to watch it the other way. I was having some technical issues. My subscription ran out yesterday, so I didn't realize that. So we're kind of using the free version for today of the software. But again, thank you for coming on, and I appreciate it. We'll keep in touch, man.
Thank you, Tom. All right. Be good.
See you later.